facilitate that process. Other groups also began amassing along the street and in the park. Gradually, the crowd sizes increased along with aggressiveness and hostility of attendees towards one another. Shortly before 11 a.m., individuals in the crowd began throwing objects and spraying chemical agents into the crowd. The city and county then made a declaration of local emergency. The crowd size became increasingly violent with mutually engaged combatants, with one-on-one attacks following. An unlawful assembly was declared, and the state police troopers began to safely move individuals out of the park and through the streets. Charlottesville police officers were originally on site in their everyday uniform. We were again hoping that the members of the alt-right rally would cooperate with our safety plan of ingress and egress. Once the violence began to erupt, we transitioned our officers into their protective equipment. We proceeded with an organized response to ensure that we could safely restore order in and around the park. No tear gas was deployed on Saturday by any law enforcement officers. There were a few instances where the Virginia State Police deployed OC, or better known as pepper spray, on those individuals refusing to comply with the unlawful assembly declaration to leave Emancipation Park. And I would like to take a moment and open the floor to questions if you have any.
Why was the 4th Street crosswalk open? Chief, last month you handled the KKK story.
Is it true on September 12th that they're planning, if they haven't already said, that there are going to be multiple rallies, Richmond, Lexington, and here September 12th?
I'm not sure that information is credible, but yes, we have heard those rumors as well. No one has contacted us directly concerning other demonstrations in and around the state. I'm not sure whether or not the 4th Street crossing was open. I don't have the action plan with me currently, but I am certain that the action plan called for this street to be closed.
Have you established a motive for the car strike suspect?
Last month for the Ku Klux Klan rally, we were here. You guys were there from the beginning. You were in the middle of the rally. You kept the two sides separate. Why did you take a different approach on Saturday?
Well, this was a completely different event from the rally on July the 8th. The entire action plan was different. We did make attempts to keep the two sides separate. However, we can't control which side someone enters the park. We had agreements and worked out a security plan to bring the groups in separate entrances. Again, they decided to change the plan and entered the park in different directions.
Suggested they may have been intimidated by the firepower of the alt-right. Can you respond to that?
We were certainly not intimidated by the firepower of the alt-right. However, it was prudent to make sure that officers were equipped to go out and deal directly with the violence at hand. Originally, we had our officers out in their everyday uniform. We were hoping for a peaceful event. We urged leaders from both sides to engage in a nonviolent demonstration. Once the violence erupted, once the plan was altered, we had to quickly transition our officers into their protective gear. Once the unlawful assembly was declared, we requested the state police mobile field force to deploy in their riot gear, and our officers took a position behind them at that point to guard their rear.
I witnessed personally dozens of acts of violence, people being assaulted, and other journalists saw this as well, with police officers in sight watching who did not intervene or help those victims. Did you give any orders to police officers not to help people who were being assaulted?
No.
Why did you intervene, though?
At the point that it turned violent, why didn't you guys clear the streets completely? Why allow any protesters at that point to remain on the streets?
We did clear the park, and once the crowds were dispersed, they went to many locations throughout the city. At that time, we had to actually send our forces to multiple locations to deal with a number of disturbances in and around the downtown area. It took probably an hour to gain control of the streets. We had groups that were moving constantly. We were following a number of groups, ensuring that they were being peaceful. But it was a challenge. It was certainly a challenge. We were spread thin once the groups dispersed.
Was there a decision to just end it though?
To-
Was there at any point a decision or thought process to say, this might not be a good idea to let these people continue to march around the streets, knowing that these two sides were so agitated at that point?
Yes, we have to focus on behavior and criminal activity, not just citizens walking in our streets.
Chief, after the,
Chief, this didn't end well. Do you have any regrets, and do you wish you would have come more prepared, so to speak? In other words, you knew what was coming. You met with them, you had a plan, you talked it out. Do you regret not having your officers better prepared and in their proper gear earlier so they could have acted sooner?
Absolutely, I have regrets.
And what are your regrets?
We lost 3 lives this weekend.
I'm talking about
I certainly have regrets. We lost 3 lives this weekend, a local citizen and 2 fellow officers. We certainly have regrets. It was a tragic
Chief,
weekend.
your department, do you regret your actions and your decisions that day?
I explained what our regrets are. We regret this tragic day. We regret that we had a tragic outcome and we lost lives.
Chief, do you believe that, hi Chief, do you believe that one side was more responsible than another for instigating the violence?
This was an alt-right rally.
Do you believe that they're the ones who instigated the rally, the fighting?
We did have mutually combative individuals